A very good afternoon to everybody and welcome to our online classes. And we are really pleased to see that there are so many viewers, getting tuned into our online classes. Your feedbacks and your suggestions are onto our priority, the highest priority. We have been working on that. And before we start up, our Hashlearn team would like to wish all the very best for all the viewers who have been entering and trying to crack any of the entrance exams, and we strongly predict that everybody who's been entering through this entrance exam should come out with good scores and reach your goals, what you've set for your life ahead. So in today's class, what we are going to discuss is the last chapter of class 11, that is chemical coordination and integration. Okay, so generally when we watch a movie, there comes a warning, says like smoking and drinking is injurious to health. This can lead to cancer. I'm not going to start up with any warning here because this chapter requires certain guidelines so that you keep in tune with me and also enjoy the class as I get deeper and deeper into the concepts. So what are the things you should do is, this chapter is completely memory based, in the sense there are many names of the hormones, endocrine glands, what are the hormones they are going to secrete, what are their functions, things like that. Okay, so we want you to learn and memorize each and every concept from the textbook so that you don't even miss a mark from your entrance exam. So what you have to do now is keep a neat A4 size sheet and a pen as I keep explaining each endocrine gland and the hormone they secrete, the function of these hormones, and what will happen when they're efficient and deficient in their amount. Okay, so keep noting down as bullet points so that as you keep on writing, it gets fixed into your brain and you'll start memorizing the names. There are many names actually, and there are many functions also, so that you keep memorizing it. And as we get in deeper and deeper, I'll go on a slow pace with each hormone and a gland I will be talking about. Okay, this will try to make the chapter very much interesting, and also you will learn each and every concept what has been told in NCERT. Okay, so at the end of the class, you're going to appreciate the human body. I'll tell you why actually. Okay, we are the much more complicated organism on earth. We all know that. Okay, so we are going to nail down to introduction to hormones. Okay, human endocrine system. Hormones have been secreted by number of endocrine glands. Okay, collectively the endocrine glands and the hormones is called as endocrine system. Okay, there are many endocrine system. It will come into the list. So today we'll see whether we can crack these 7 endocrine system. Okay, that is the hypothalamus, pituitary gland, the pineal gland, the thyroid gland, the parathyroid gland, thymus and adrenal gland. Let's see if we can crack all the endocrine glands which I'm talking about as the nailed down goal of our class. Now something interesting I've written here, the masterpiece, hormones. Now throughout your journey of studying biology, you have reached till 11th. Okay, you must have appreciated the human body, the complicated activities we carry about, our physiological activity or the metabolic activity. You must say that, ma'am, these are all the things which are taken care by the brain. So that is why we call it as mega mind. Brain is something like mega structure, the mega thing, which is going to maintain the way we walk, the way we talk, the coordination within us, and many things which is happening inside us also. But my friends, I'll tell you, I'll get a twist here actually. Okay, you see in the left side of the slide, I'll just use a highlighter. So what is that I've been showing? Okay, I'll just take, not the highlighter actually, I'll take a laser pointer. Okay, this is human nervous system. So human nervous system, okay, it has proliferated throughout our body. It reaches point to point. It is going to take the electrical impulse from one area to the other area, and that's how within a short span of time we talk, we wave our hand, we wink our eyes, and many things, right? Now you can ask me a question, ma'am, when nervous system is there to coordinate everything into our body, why do we need endocrine system? Now look at the organ system I'm been pointing at the right side of the slide. So these are the many organs which is there within us. We all know there's heart, there's small intestine, there's large intestine, there's kidney, everything. Now in a lifespan of a human, we have various stages like adolescence, then we reach up maturity, we hit puberty, then we get into the sexual mode, then the women become pregnant and she gives birth to a kid. There are many changes into her body like lactation, the uterine contraction, many things like that. So these are all the stages which comes gradually within a human being. So these gradual changes cannot be monitored all the time by the nerves. They get exhausted. Look at this, there's so many organs. And one more thing to note down is our nerves are only to certain, it just reaches the organs but not at the cellular level. So what is the thing which reaches our cellular level is our hormones. That is why I call it as the masterpiece hormones. If the hormones are not there, we wouldn't have enjoyed our youth, the changes within us, okay, the power of strength within us, saying that courageously, yes, I'm going to crack these things. Okay, when we reach up to the maturity, we think about what are all the things we have to do in our life. Then we think about reproducing. To reproducing, we increase in number. These are all the stages which are coordinated by hormones, which cannot be done by the nerves because they get exhausted. They cannot reach at every cell of the organs. So this is done by hormones. Now, would you agree with me when we say hormones are called as the masterpiece of our life? If they are not there, I tell you, my friends, we would have looked extremely ugly. In the sense, I would say we would become short, we'll put on a lot of weight, okay? There's a lot of sterility, we don't hit the fertility, things like that, abnormal brain growth, things like that, many things are there. So even hormones play a good role here. So what is the entire agenda of a human being to live properly is the coordination between the nervous system, which I've been showing in the left side, and the endocrine system. Okay, these are all the organs. There are specific glands which are called as endocrine glands. I'll show you what all that. So coordination between nervous system and endocrine system makes our life easy. We have balanced physiological activity within our life. How can we define hormones as? So based on my discussion, just we had that. So we are going to grab up a definition and we are going to consolidate it, saying that hormones are non-nutrient substances. What do you mean by non-nutrient? Okay, something which is said as nutrition, okay, which is going to give nourishment to something. Okay, so the food which we ingest, we are going to grab carbohydrates, lipids, fats. These are all the nutrients, my friends. So okay, hormones are not nutrients because we don't get them from ingesting food. These are released on the command from our brain from various endocrine glands. Okay, so that is why they're called as non-nutrient intercellular messengers. Hormones have a specificity. They're going to enter into each organ, get inside the cell and talk to the DNA. We all know the baseline of genetic, guys. So anything which reaches the DNA, there's going to be transcription, there's going to be translation, and the proteins get out. Okay, so these hormone gets inside the cell. They have the highest specificity. They're going to reach a specific cell and they're going to give them the command like, hey, I think this man has reached the puberty and there should be activation of all this all these hormones like androgens. So there should be secondary sexual characters which we have to bring in, primary sexual characters which we have to bring in. So that's what the hormones are doing by getting inside the cell. That's why they're called as non-nutrient intercellular messengers. So what is the third point I've put here is produced in trace amount. Trace in the sense extremely smaller. Extremely, it's going to be very small in the amount they are going to be produced. Why is this? Because they are highly potent. Now see, let's take a female for an example. So she's going to hit her puberty at a specific age, and there's going to be starting of menstruation cycle, where there's going to be ovulation of her, the ovaries, where there's going to be maturation of Graafian follicle. So this happens gradually in life, guys. Okay, so these hormones which is produced at that time, okay, it is highly specific, as I told, and it's highly potent. So it's not going to get denatured or it's going to die off. So that is why body says this much amount is enough for getting this many changes, this many small changes in a lifetime of a female. So that is why, in conclusion, how can we define hormones now? We can say hormones are non-nutrient intercellular messengers produced in trace amount. So this is what the definition is given. I thought of picking up each word, each statement given for hormones and explaining it. I think that is clear enough, and that's where they're called as showrunners of our body. We have all this drama within ourselves, okay? The drama of life. If I say that we mature, there's a maturation of our bones or maturation of our brain, all these things are going to be into the stage of drama. So who's doing the playback story here? The playback thing to control all these things is hormones. That's why I call it as showrunners of our body, which is cordial. It is various cordial functions have been maintained and controlled by hormones. Okay. So now here we are going to talk about human endocrine system. Oh no, that's a highlighter. We get a pen, then we get a good color. Human endocrine system. The system is the collective term for well organized, developed endocrine glands. Okay. This is just a definition. I'm saying well organized, developed endocrine glands and the hormones produced by them respectively. So endocrine system are the n number of endocrine glands which is developed properly and organized properly in our body, and the hormones secreted by them respectively. Now this is the endocrine glands which has been shown in this picture. As I told, we have the hypothalamus. This is the hypothalamus. This is the hypothalamus. I'll just write it in a short form. Then we have the pineal gland. We have the pituitary gland. So these two glands are present just below the hypothalamus. Okay, and they are the part of brain. Then we have the thyroid gland, which has been enlarged here. I'll talk to you about it. What are all the structure of all these glands. Then there is thymus, adrenal gland. Then we have all the other glands. These are all gonads, the ovaries and testes. So that will be done in the next class. So today we are going to talk only till adrenal gland. Fine. So pancreas, uterus, ovaries, testes, these are all also the endocrine glands, which we'll talk in the next class. So the hypothalamus, as the name suggests, hypo means something below. Now look at the image which I've put right over me. I'll just get the laser pointer. Look at the image I've put right over me is the structure of brain. Okay, the structure of human brain. Now when you see the orange color thing, I'll again take a laser pointer. Okay, that is the thalamus. So this entire structure is called diencephalon. You must have studied about the brain structure, right? You must have studied about brain structure. So in brain structure, we know what is diencephalon. It is a completely embedded. I'll also make myself focus in that way itself as the diagram is. Okay, so it's the completely embedded structure within our brain, that is diencephalon. Diencephalon has two such parts, that is thalamus and hypothalamus. So hypothalamus is just below the thalamus. So that's what I have put here. I've just made a table for you guys so that it will be easy for you to understand the information of each and every gland which we are going to discuss in this class. So as I said, location, it says basal part of diencephalon. Okay, it is the most important endocrine gland. Why is it actually is? It is the one which connects nervous system and endocrine system via pituitary gland. So our body hypothalamus gives commands to release hormones. Okay, it releases a set of hormones which is getting collected in pituitary gland. Okay, it is the one which is like a master gland, and it is going to command all the other endocrine glands to release what hormones at what time. Okay, so that is why it connects nervous system and endocrine system. It contains nuclei secreting hormones. I mean the nuclei. Okay, I'm sorry, it contains the nuclei. These are all the neurosecretory cells. It contains various neurosecretory cells, and these are called as nuclei. So the nuclei is gonna in turn secrete many hormones. Where? Into the pituitary gland. Let me go to the previous image. You see the pituitary gland is here. Okay, it is present right below the hypothalamus. There is a stem. Hypothalamus and pituitary gland are connected by a stem. So what and all the hormones are secreted by the hypothalamus reaches the pituitary gland. There is one more image in the next slide. You will understand much more better. Okay, with that image. There are two broad types of hormones which is secreted by our body, hypothalamus. What is that? These are actually into two broad types, that is the releasing hormone and the inhibiting hormone. As the name suggests, okay, the releasing hormones are the hormones which are going to stimulate the pituitary hormone secretion. Okay, the inhibiting hormone are the hormones which are going to inhibit the the hormones which is getting stimulated. Every show should have a start and an end. Okay, so our body hypothalamus is going to do a start show and an end show. So that is why it is called as the releasing hormone, the inhibiting hormone. For example, the releasing hormone you can take as gonadotrophic releasing hormone. Okay, there are abbreviations given like this. I will not write the complete the explanation or the broadband for this abbreviation what we are talking here. So it is called GnRH. So this is going to be gonadotrophic releasing hormone. As the name suggests, it's going to release gonadotrophins. So gonadotrophins are the one which brings about growth development. Okay, the development towards in terms of growth within a human being. So if it is produced a lot, you see gigantism. That's one more abnormality. If it is less in its amount, then we have dwarfism. Okay, so it should be produced in an accurate amount. So to inhibit, to stop it, that's it buddy, this body has grown up, that's it. That is going to be done by somatostatin. These are all the inhibiting hormone which is going to inhibit gonadotrophins. Simple as that. So these hormones reach the pituitary. That's what, as I said, these hormones reach the pituitary by a specific portal circulation system. Okay, the complete details or to get inside portal circulatory system is something way beyond of our the importance into this class. I will just say it's a portal circulatory system where it is going to reach the pituitary gland. On the next image which I'll show you, you will understand that how it is reaching the pituitary gland. Okay, this is the hypothalamus. What are all the two hormones it is releasing? We also gave the example. We also said where it is sitting and how it is gonna push the hormones into the pituitary gland. The next gland which we are going to talk, I hope you guys have understood the hypothalamus. In the same way, we are going to teach pituitary gland. Location. Okay, there's one more image which I have put over me. Let me just sit in the same way. Okay, there is this is brain. Okay, within the brain there is a bony cavity. We call it as sella turcica. Okay, within the cavity you find the pituitary gland. Okay, so interestingly, why is this name sella turcica has come is because in Turkish language sella turcica means saddle. Okay, now you can ask me, ma'am, what is saddle? So saddle is the seat which you see on a horse. So I think most of you guys have gone for horse riding. You see a seat, okay, onto the horse where you sit. It's like a leathery seat. So our sella turcica resembles the structure of the saddle, and that's why Turkish people, may say that it is very much resembling to that of the saddle, and that's why it's been named as sella turcica. It's a bony cavity within which our body pituitary gland sits. Okay, you see this pituitary gland here. Okay, this is within sella turcica. Okay, now anatomically our pituitary gland has two important structures. You know, it just looks like a lobe here, the image what I've shown. Let me just connect it. Okay, but basically it's into two parts like this. Okay, just draw it. Yeah. Okay, so this part is anterior and this part is posterior. Okay, it's not side by side, actually it is sitting one behind the other. You can see this image what I've put here. Okay, so this is the anterior part, this is the posterior part. So as I said, anatomically pituitary gland is of two important structures. Yeah, that is adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. Adenohypophysis has two more structure within it. Okay, it's called as pars distalis. Sorry, this should be A. Okay, pars distalis and pars intermedia. So this pars distalis, what I'm talking about, is the anterior part of our pituitary gland, and this one which has been called as pars nervosa. Adenohypophysis, neurohypophysis. Adenohypophysis has pars distalis, pars intermedia. Pars distalis is called as the anterior part. Neurohypophysis is called as pars nervosa, and that is the posterior part of the pituitary gland. Now I was saying about this portal circulation system. Okay, the numerous nuclei, that means the neurosecretory cell, as I told you. Okay, you see the nerves here. These nerves, it gets directly within posterior pituitary part. Okay, the posterior part. So what and all the hormones are secreted by these nerves travel through the axons and get inside the nerve endings, and it gets collected in the pituitary, that is the posterior pituitary. Now the neurons, I mean the nerves which you see here at the anterior part, they just don't get inside the, you know, the anterior part, they just regulate the activity of the anterior part of pituitary gland. Okay, so with this image you might have understood that how the pituitary gland is connected to hypothalamus and how the hormones get released. Cool. So we are done with this. What are all the function, in the sense, what are all the function of the hormones released by our adenohypophysis? Adenohypophysis, as I said, it's the, you know, the anterior part of the pituitary gland. The anterior part in that is actually pars distalis, and we also have pars intermedia. So within the 7 hormones, actually we have 6 hormones, this first 6, okay, which has been secreted by the pars distalis, and there's only one hormone which is secreted by pars intermedia. So I've just, as I said, I've just given the abbreviation. I'll just give you the abbreviation as I talk in. It is just into a short term, it's given as GH, TSH, you know, FSH, things like this. So we'll keep writing the function. I'll tell you in an elaborated way, and I'll just put the bullet points here into this column. So GH is nothing but the growth hormone. As I said in the previous, you know, the slide, it can be gonadotrophins. So these are gonna initiate growth in the human. So the next hormone, it is called as PRL. This hormone is prolactin. So this is gonna induce milk formation in the mammary gland, the development and maturation of mammary gland and release of milk. You know, when the woman has delivered the baby, that's the lactation period, it's gonna roll off that. And we have TSH, that is the thyroid stimulating hormone. So this is gonna secrete the thyroid hormones. Okay, we have the T3 and T4 hormones, the thyroid hormones from the thyroid gland. So what is it gonna do? The function is, it's gonna initiate the functions of all the thyroid gland. There's a T3 and T4. It's gonna master in release of the thyroid hormones. Then these are the thyroid hormones, actually I'll just put it as hormones. Okay, then we have ACTH. Okay, this is called as adenocorticotrophic hormones. Okay, as I said, adenocorticotropic. Cortico comes into the place when we talk about steroids. Adeno, in the sense, it connects to adrenal gland. So these hormones are gonna initiate the secretion of, you know, the corticoids. That's nothing but glucocorticoids, the steroid hormones from the adrenal gland. So they're gonna initiate the secretion of hormones from the adrenal gland, which is present on our kidney. Okay, so we call these hormones as corticoids. Okay, the next is LH. This is called as luteinizing hormone, and FSH, which is called as follicle stimulating hormone. So these two are basically the gonadotrophins, that means which is gonna work up with our gonads. Okay, gonads is nothing but the ovary, testis, things like that. So we'll call it as gonado. One second, I'll just use the eraser. Okay, gonadotrophins, which are going to work up with our gonads. So luteinizing hormone is what it's going to do into male is the maturation of testis, initiates spermatogens. So luteinizing hormone in male is going to initiate the secretion of androgens, and androgens and FSH, that is the follicle stimulating hormone, is going to club up and initiate spermatogenesis in male. So in female, our body LH is going to initiate the maturation of Graafian follicle. Okay, this Graafian follicle is going to give out the remnants, something like corpus luteum. Okay, then FSH is going to maintain the ovulation of our ovarian follicle. It's going to see the development and maturation growth of our ovarian follicle. So that's the role of these all 6 hormones, which is secreted by, I'll just put one more, yes, these are all from pars distalis. Okay, this is the one hormone which is secreted on the commands of pars intermedia. Okay, so MSH is nothing but melanocyte stimulating hormone. As we talk about melanins, the pigment, so it is going to control on the pigmentation of our body, how much level has to be released. You know, this is the hormone which is going to make us look darker or duskier or fair. So our complexion is actually controlled by MSH based on the amount of, you know, the melanin which has to be released. Okay, so these are all the hormones released by adenohypophysis. So what is the list of hormones produced by neurohypophysis, which is also called as pars nervosa, the posterior part of pituitary gland? So oxytocin. Oxytocin is the prime hormone, okay, which should be in accurate level within women. So women, when they conceive, they become pregnant, there's this childbirth. During the childbirth, the heaviest contraction of the uterine, I would like to say here, when it's a normal birth, where women go into a C-section, okay, but when there is a normal birth, there should be contraction of the uterine to push the baby out of the uterus. So this contraction is brought by our body hormone like oxytocin. Okay, it also brings about production of milk, that's the lactation period. That's what is got by oxytocin. Then vasopressin is called as antidiuretic hormone, because it is gonna, you know, work up on resorption of water and electrolytes from the distal part of kidney. We know what is distal part, we know what is proximal distal tubules and all, right? So this hormones helps in resorption of water and electrolytes, so that there's no excessive loss of water through urine. I'll just write here the short forms. I will say a lactation period, okay, that's nothing but production of milk. Then uterine contraction during childbirth, okay, in childbirth. And vasopressin is resorption of water and electrolyte, so that there is no excessive loss of water. Okay. So we are done with pituitary gland. We talked about the hormones. We'll talk about pineal gland. So again, I've put a brain structure over me, if you see. So pineal gland is present in the dorsal side of the brain. Okay, so here is where pineal gland is present. This is hypothalamus. You have the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is connected to pituitary. You can see in this image, and pineal gland is present in the dorsal side of forebrain. Okay, so what is the function of pineal gland? It may sound just one or two function, but if it is not there, we will not have proper sleep and wake up time. We would have become zombies by now, if I say. So pineal gland is going to help us in production of melatonin. So melatonin is a hormone which is going to regulate diurnal. So you have this word called diurnal. In many places it will come in vernalization also, the flowering plant chapter. So diurnal means daily day of, the period in the day. So daily rhythm, diurnal rhythm, okay, that is nothing but the sleep wake cycle. So it's gonna keep up a biological time within us, say that this much amount of sleeping, this much amount of wake up, okay. Then also it fixes up menstrual cycle, as I said, at the particular age. And pigmentation, that's the extra function what it does. And the main thing which is gonna take care of is the body temperature. So it is gonna shoot off like saying off and on, off and on. So that's why it maintains the diurnal rhythm. So that's what the pineal gland takes care of by producing melatonin, the hormone. So we are next to our thyroid gland. Let's have a pause here. We studied about hypothalamus, we studied about pituitary, we studied about pineal gland. So we are done talking about the endocrine glands which is there in our brain. Now next we are going to move to our respiratory system. Okay, so that is nothing but we have a gland which is sitting right on our trachea. Okay, so that is the thyroid gland. Okay, so I'll just take you to the first slide where you can see the thyroid gland. So this is the thyroid gland sitting right on the trachea. I'll tell you the proper location. So this is how it looks. It is bilobed. There are two lobes actually. It looks like a butterfly in your chapter in the textbook where you see. So thyroid gland has highest emphasis in a body. If it is released extremely low in its concentration, there are people who go lean, in the sense they become much more thinner and thinner, more than their height and age, which is the requirement of their height and age. When it is, I'm sorry, when it is produced higher, I mean to say that's hyperthyroidism, people become lean. When it is produced low, that means the deficiency of this gland, people start putting weight and it leads to obesity. Okay, thyroid gland is of highest emphasis because it takes care of various function which is going to fix our metabolism. That's why it is said that you have to continuously regularized exercise should be there. You have to keep burning your fats because this initiates the proper action of thyroid gland in our body. So where is the thyroid gland present? So just imagine here how it is present. Is pair of gland is present on the trachea, interconnected by isthmus. That means there are two lobes. It's connected by a sensitive tissue. These two lobes, that's called as isthmus. Okay, it's made of follicle and stromal tissue. Now before we get inside this, I'm going to tell you where it is situated properly. Okay, now we all know, look at me, there's going to be rib cage here. We have sternum here. Sternum is nothing but a disc bone. Okay, so this disc bone is gonna make the rib cage where it's gonna protect the heart, lungs and all. Okay, so this thyroid gland is present right behind the sternum and on the ventral side of aorta. Okay, so that's where it is situated, the thyroid gland. And the basic thing what our bloody thyroid gland is going to do for us is, As I said, it is made up of two lobes. The two lobes which is connected by isthmus, and these lobes are made up of follicle and stromal tissue. I've written it here. Okay, there are all the notes. I'll keep saying. Then each follicle has a follicular cell with an cavity enclosed by them. Okay, this is the anatomical details. This much is enough for our weave when we talk about the NCERT band of the concept explanation. So this is how it has been made, our thyroid gland. So what is it going to produce? The thyroid hormones. What are the hormones? They're called as T4 and T3. Okay, T4 is called as thyroido. Okay, the thyroido hormone, the thyronin, it is called as tetrathyroido, the hormone. So it is, as it is given as T4, we just write out, it is called as tetraiodothyronin. Okay, as the name suggests here, or thyroxine also is called as T4, and as the name suggests here, it's called as triiodothyronin. So these are the hormones produced by our thyroid glands. Okay, so if these hormones are produced excessive in their amount, they're going to lead to hyperthyroidism. This generally happens when there are nodules or cancerous cells on our thyroid gland. Okay, so this generally happens where, as I said, it leads to hypothyroidism, and there's a lot of imbalance in our metabolic activity. So I'll just write it as imbalance in the metabolic activity. Metabolic activity when the hormones are low in their amount. When they go high in their amount, it leads to hypothyroidism. Okay, hyper is high. I'm sorry, I think I have put in wrong this one. I'll just erase that off. As the name suggests, hyper is high. Okay, hypo is low. Okay, I'm sorry. So hyper is high, as the name suggests. Hypo is low. Okay, hypo, when there is low secretion of this hormones, it is going to lead to obesity, as what I told, and you have this problem called as goiter. Goiter, if you see this enlarged thyroid gland, I mean the gland becomes enlarged and you get goiter. That's another more symptom of showing that there is low thyroid hormone production. So generally, when the woman is pregnant, she reads the gynecologist and says that let's run a test to see whether everything is fine within me and I am all stable to give birth to a child. So the first test which is given by the doctor, and he asks us to test T3 and T4 levels. Why it is actually is, during pregnancy level, during the pregnancy time, the levels of thyroid, it dances a lot into a woman. So when it goes low into a woman, the hypothyroid, generally pregnant women crash up to hypothyroidism because of the various changes in the body. So when it happens, there's going to be a adverse effect on the fetus. What happens actually is, there's going to be mental retardation, abnormal growth, there won't be any speech and hearing coordination, the kid will become deaf, things like that. Okay, so that is why women, when she's pregnant, she has to keep a keen level on her T3 and T4, the levels in the body, so that it does not affect her fetus. Fine. So hypothyroidism, as I said, low, this will lead to a lot of issues when the woman is pregnant. Okay, and you have the obesity problem. So this is also going to hit to your menstruation cycle. There will be a lot of irregular menstruation cycle when the woman is having hypothyroid issues. Okay, so there are 5 prime function of our thyroid gland in our body. That is which is going to fix us up to keep ourselves physically proper, in a proper shape, in a proper weight, is done by our thyroid gland. I'll tell you how it is. 5 major steps. Okay, the 5 major function, what is going to take care of is basal metabolism. Ma'am, what do you mean by basal metabolism? Basal metabolism is nothing but the accurate, the balanced activities within our body. It can be metabolism of carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and keep us fit, burn off all the fats, giving highest activity to our muscles so that we look proper in shape. Okay, so it is going to take care of the basal metabolism. I've put a picture here down, if you see, is like the total energy expenditure. Okay, this is what we need to do to really keep us in proper shape and proper, good metabolic activity within us is basal metabolism. As I said, give a lot of exercise and rest to yourself. You have to rest also. Plus digestion, there is a thermic effect of blood. Digestion in the sense the proper eat of food, and there's a proper digestion, the proper use of all the nutrients which we have to grab from our food, and physical activity. You should have the regularized exercise so that you burn fats and keep yourself fit. Okay, then it is gonna maintain the metabolism of CPF is nothing but I'm talking about carbohydrates, proteins and fats. Okay, so it's going to maintain that, the proper metabolism. Then the production of RBC within our cell, within our blood, it is going to take care of that also. Then secretes thyrocalcitonin. So thyrocalcitonin is a hormone which maintains the level of calcium in our body. Okay, for this, the emphasized role, that means the gland which is into this completely to see whether the calcium level in our body is high or low, is done by the next gland actually, that's the parathyroid gland. So this is the thyroid gland's function. So it also secretes TCT, that's nothing but thyrocalcitonin, and it's also going to maintain water and electrolyte within our body. That's nothing but there shouldn't be too much of water and too much of electrolytes also in our body. So it's going to sit in the renal tubules and it's going to command how much of water and electrolyte should be balanced in our body. So these are all the 5 major steps carried over by thyroid gland. Okay, parathyroid gland, as it says, para, something in attachment with thyroid gland. As you see the image over me, so this is how thyroid gland looks like. As I showed you in the initial slide, and here also I'll be showing, it looks like a butterfly, it looks like a collar actually. So at the back side of the thyroid gland, there are 4 parathyroid glands. Okay, each lobe has 2 of it. As I have given here, the location are in 2 pairs, each present at the back of thyroid gland. So what is the function of our parathyroid gland is they release PTH. That's nothing but parathyroid hormone. So what is this PTH gonna do is, as I said, it is gonna maintain the calcium level in a body. How does it do it is, interestingly, it does so many things, So how does it do it is what we're gonna talk about is bone resorption. I'm just gonna tell you what is bone resorption actually. Bone resorption is a process where a multinucleated bone cell, it is actually called as osteoclast. I'll just write here, osteoclast. Okay, osteoclast, what they're going to do is they're going to damage the bone tissue and release the minerals from it. So the highest mineral from it will be calcium. So that's why bone resorption is also called as demineralization. Okay. Okay, it is also called as demineralization. That is because it's going to put out the minerals from the bone. You may ask me, why is it doing? Doesn't it going to weaken our bone? It's not doing, completely when there is some kind of crack, some kind of problem within our bone, to get the healing effect for that, because our blood also should have a proper level of calcium. That's why we should intake lot of calcium, but when it goes beyond a level also, we have issues when there is highest amount of calcium in our body too. Okay, so for example, let me just say, we have the teeth. Okay, it's also made of calcium. and his teeth is getting decayed, and the dentist deliberately he doesn't deliberately do it, actually he just pushes it out saying that it's decayed or this teeth is not proper, it's abnormal in its structure, there's going to be remnants of this teeth at our gum. So this osteoclasts come into the picture. They are gonna take away the extra calcium there and put it to the blood. That's what they do, is mineral transfer. This is called as bone resorption. That's how the calcium level in a body is maintained. The second point, how is the other way of increasing the calcium, is reabsorption from renal tubule. Okay, the water which is getting out, which is getting excreted out with various minerals, is going to get converted into urea form, or the the various uric form. In different forms of animal is going to be aminotellic or uricotellic, things like that. So it is going to absorb calcium from the water which we are going to excrete out, water or the fluid which is going to get excreted. Then increased absorption from the digested food. What is getting absorbed here is calcium. Okay, reabsorption of calcium from our renal tubule and increased absorption of calcium from our digested food. Okay, so that's what parathyroid gland does. It keeps the calcium level in our body. Okay, so it also has a fixed up, something like a coordinated function with the TCT, which has been secreted by the thyroid gland. It mixes up with that and maintains the calcium level in our body. So for this class, detailedly we have studied hypothalamus, okay, the pituitary gland within the the sella turcica. Then we talked about the pineal gland. Then we talked about the thyroid gland. We fixed about parathyroid gland. So in our next class, we'll talk about thymus, adrenal gland, and the furthermore glands too. To summarize, what did we read or what did we study today is, we went into an introduction of hormones, saying that hormones are masterpiece, they are the showrunners. Then we talked about the hypothalamus, pituitary gland, pineal gland, thyroid gland, okay, and yes, parathyroid gland also. So we're left with thymus, and then we're going to talk about the adrenal gland. Okay, and I'll get you some more glands also in the next class. So I think you got fixed up with the function, where it is located and what's its emphasis. This is how the coordinated way of the activities gets maintained in our body. Thank you for staying tuned with us, and please do answer our CPP questions what we post for the passport users, and keep in tune with us, and let's study furthermore deeper. Okay, all the very best. I'm done.
Now tell about CPP.
Oh, okay. So all the very best for all the kids. We would like all our passport users to use our CPP questions, which is made in perspective for the NEET, that is the entrance exam. Please do answer that, and you have any issues, come through the comments. We will be very much happy to help you out. All the very best for your entrance exams.